was on with the board earlier. They're really grateful for this.
Gabby.
Natalie, hello. Hi.
Oh, Gabby, this is Helena'S.
My gosh, Helena. So good to finally meet you.
Likewise.
Immediately after Dylan has flipped the two switches, Mark, Helly, and Irving's innies awaken in the outside world. At Devon's house, Mark's body tenses slightly as his innie is activated. The innie finds himself in an unexpected embrace with his boss, Harmony. However, he doesn't realize that this is actually her outside world persona, Mrs. 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐬𝐸. While talking with him, Mrs. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐸𝐸 notices that Mark is becoming increasingly confused. Eventually, when he tells her that he needs to use the bathroom, he even seems to have forgotten its location in his sister's house. Inside Irving's living room, his innie finds himself holding a hand trowel. He realizes that his outie was using it to paint some plywood black while listening to metal music. The innie notices that his outie has an array of pieces that he has painted completely black. Helly's innie finds herself at an extravagant gala where she is accompanied by Natalie from Lumon. Unaware that she is now talking to Helly's innie, Natalie informs her that she needs to be sharp as she will be giving her speech shortly. As they walk through the venue, Natalie starts introducing Helly to the guests as Helena'S. Helly manages to keep a calm demeanor, despite being surprised to learn that her outie is part of the 𝐒𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐸 family. As the evening continues, Helly coincidentally runs into Gabby and engages in a conversation with her. Gabby reveals that she has undergone the severance procedure to give birth without going through the pain, and expresses her disbelief that some people want to outlaw it. Hiding her true intentions, Helly pretends to agree with her. Suspicious of Mark, Mrs. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐸𝐸 walks up to him and asks him why he tensed up while he was hugging her earlier. When he claims he doesn't know what she's talking about, she follows up by asking him what the big decision he told her was. Mark tries to escape her questions by apologizing and saying he needs to go somewhere. When she tells him that he can go, he replies by saying, "Thanks, Miss 𝐒𝐤𝐸𝐸," which is Harmony's last name, confirming to her that this is actually Mark's innie, as he thinks he's talking to Harmony, not Mrs. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐸𝐸. Meanwhile, at Irving's, the innie finds a locked box and its key. Inside the box, he discovers a US Navy uniform that belongs to his outie. Along with the uniform, he finds several documents related to Lumon, including a list of their employees. Although he's unsure why his outie has been collecting this information, Irving decides to search for Bert's outie on the list and successfully locates his address. Without hesitation, Irving jumps into his outie's car and heads to Bert's house. Overwhelmed by what she's seeing at the gala, Helly retreats to the restroom to calm herself down. She's in disbelief that her outie is not only forcing her to work for Lumon, but also has evidently lied to everyone by claiming that her innie is happy down there. Unexpectedly, Helena's father and current CEO of Lumon, 𝐄𝐩𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐸, enters the restroom to check on his daughter. After making sure she's okay, he reveals that Lumon's goal is to sever everyone in the world, and that with her assistance, they will be able to achieve that goal. Wanting to free up some time for her brother, Devon hands Eleanor over to Mrs. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐸𝐸. Once they're alone, Mark's innie realizes that Devon is his sister and that she's trustworthy, so he tells her the truth of the situation. He explains that he's actually the innie and is trying to expose Lumon and its shady activities. He then asks her why his outie became severed in the first place. She explains that it was a way for him to cope with the death of his wife, Gemma. At the same time, Mrs. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐸𝐸 realizes that the OTC must have been activated. She quickly leaves Eleanor in a room and rushes to her car. She repeatedly calls Seth, forcing him to answer. Once he picks up, she instructs him to hurry to the control room and shut down the OTC as quickly as possible. Instantly, Seth rushes to the control room, only to find that the door is tied shut. He pulls out his pocket knife and begins cutting through the belt to open the door. While doing this, he tries to reason with Dylan, revealing that he has 2 more children and offering to tell him their names if he cooperates and shuts down the OTC. But Dylan doesn't give in. While thinking of ways to expose Lumon, Mark asks Devon why Harmony is in her house. Devon is confused and asks whom he is referring to. After Mark describes her appearance, Devon realizes that Mrs. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐸𝐸 is actually Harmony. She panics and tries to find her, only to discover that she has taken her car and driven away. Devon becomes even more frantic as she searches the house for her daughter. Thankfully, Mark manages to find Eleanor alone in the room where Harmony left her, leading one of the guests to bring her to Devon. Despite finding it difficult to drive, Irving eventually arrives at Bert's house. He watches through the windows and sees Bert enjoying his time with his significant other. This sight makes Irving feel upset and jealous. Regardless, he decides to get out of his car and approach the house. He walks up to the door and starts knocking on it while calling out Bert's name. Realizing that Helly's innie will be at the gala, Harmony quickly arrives there. Upon arrival, she finds Helly moments before she's about to give her speech. Harmony reveals to Helly that she knows she's the innie and not Helena. She continues by warning her that if she reveals what happens on the severed floor, her colleagues will suffer the consequences, as they will remain alive down there, even if she is no longer present. Unfazed by this warning, Helly walks onto the stage and begins her speech by revealing that she is not Helena, but in fact, her innie, much to the shock of all the attendees. She continues by saying that everything Lumon tells them is a lie, and that the innies are miserable prisoners who have to endure torture on the severed floor. Wanting to save Lumon's reputation, Natalie quickly runs up to Helly and tackles her to the floor. In the same room where he found Eleanor, Mark discovers a nightstand adorned with framed family photos. As he looks through them, he comes across a wedding picture of his Audi and Gemma. Upon seeing Gemma's face, he comes to the shocking realization that she is, in fact, Miss Casey. Understanding what this means, he rushes to find Devon. When he finally sees her, he yells out, "She's alive," while holding the wedding picture. Simultaneously on the severed floor, Seth finally manages to cut the belt. He immediately runs into the control room and pushes Dylan away from the switches, causing the OTC to be switched off, effectively shutting down all the innies.
My name is Helly R. I'm an innie. And everything they've told you about Severance is a lie. No. Listen, we're not happy. We're miserable. They torture us down there. We're prisoners! She's alive!